Hello, good morning or good evening to everyone listening to these podcasts. Today we are going to be listening to four amazing stories, all coming from Cebu. So, Cebu is located in Visayas, Philippines. I was able to review all of my emails and my spam and was able to handpick four amazing stories from real life people. So if you ever felt like you have any wonderful stories to share, it could be ghosts, cryptids, UFOs, or just any unusual experience, then please feel free to check the description box down below and send me your stories. You can let me rewrite your stories, or you can write it yourself. I'm going to read it as is. So today is actually a story from someone who came from Cebu. This person, I believe, is a taxi driver. And he was talking about the newly renovated Mactan Bridge. And so I'm going to be reading the first story for you guys. White Lady of the Mactan Bridge. The Cebu night stretched out before me, a black velvet cloak sprinkled with city lights. I gripped the steering wheel of my taxi, a familiar ache in my shoulders. Another late shift. Another night fighting for fares. As I crossed the Mactan Bridge, the usual buzz of the city faded. It was like the whole world held its breath. Today, it's unusually quiet. There's not much cars and vehicles running around and crossing the bridge. This time, the bridge felt a little bit different. The wind whispered secrets through the steel beams, and the headlights of oncoming vehicles seemed to pierce right through you. Lately, there's whispers of drownings and accidents. Some said they are actually seeing unusual apparitions in the bridge itself. Then, with a sputter and a cough, my headlights died. My car is doing it again. Though it didn't experience this coughing and sputtering for a couple of years now. Darkness swallowed the car whole. My heart jumped into my throat. I was fumbling with a glove compartment for my flashlight. I swore under my breath. Just as I found the flashlight, a voice filled the back seat. It was soft, sad, and it spoke in Cebuano. Tabang. Tabang. I froze, very instinct screaming at me to run. But I slowly turned around, but the back seat was empty. Panic flooded my veins after I realized that it could have been someone or something unearthly. Scrambling out of the car, I left my stupid flip-flops, slapping a frantic rhythm on the cold metal deck. I was running barefoot. I needed light. I needed help. Just anything. Looking out at the dark water below, a shiver ran down my spine. It's like the cold wind felt something wrong. A figure, dark and wispy, formed out of the mist by the bridge's edge. A woman, and her hair is like a curtain, hiding her face. A horrible memory flickered in my mind. People of talking about a white lady in the bridge, or apparitions of ghosts in the bridge. And my foot was caught on a loose grate, which sent me sprawling. A choked scream ripped from my throat. I lost in the vast of the emptiness of the night. I was so afraid that I didn't even remember what happened next. When sunrise came, there was people running around trying to ask what I have been doing. It's because they found me babbling nonsense, clinging to the bridge for dear life. That night, under the cold gaze of the star, I swear I would never ever go on a late night taxi drive ever again. That was a very interesting story. Thank you so much. From the sender, obviously from Cebu. I did lived in Cebu way back 2013, 2014, and it was really amazing how the old bridge is a great contrast to the new bridge. The new bridge has like this beautiful aura in it, like totally opposite about what this writer is actually saying. But I have an experience driving alone in the middle of the night in the new Mactan bridge, so I can't really say if it's really that eerie or scary. But one thing I know for sure, thank you so much for sharing this amazing story to us. I know it's kind of gave you like a little bit of lesson for yourself that you shouldn't be driving at night. I think that's the very reason why it's very hard to find a taxi at night in Cebu. Well, thank you so much, Mr. X. I don't have a name for this person. But the next story though, this came from Tina of Bangkal, Cebu. This is titled The Frightened Ghost of Bangkal's Vacant Lot. The vacant lot in Bangkal, Cebu always felt wrong. It wasn't like the other empty spaces. There was a hollowness to it, a silence that screamed. I wanted to rename this supposedly ghost because we're not really sure if that ghost is that person herself, but we call her Michelle. Michelle was a bubbly girl with a smile that could light up the street. She was found dead in there in 2019. The news painted a horrifying picture. A brutal murder. A monster still walking free. The police found nothing, and the weight of the unsolved case pressed down on the whole neighborhood, heavy and suffocating. Me and my friends, we were young and stupid back then. We dared each other to visit the vacant lot at night, hoping to maybe, just maybe, make contact with Michelle's spirit. It was a dumb idea, fueled by late night snacks and bad judgment. Armed with a flashlight and a borrowed spirit box, supposedly to let spirits communicate, we ventured into the darkness. It was a hot night, really hot, like hard to breathe type of humidity. The spirit box crackled with static, adding to the creepy vibe. We called out to Michelle, our voices shaky in the oppressive silence. Then, a sound, a choked sob, raw and desperate. It came from the far corner of the lot, by the scraggly bushes. Panic threatened to overwhelm me, but curiosity, morbid and stupid, propelled us forward. We shone the flashlight, its beam cutting through the darkness, and then we saw a girl, naked and caked in dirt. Half her face was a bloody mess, skin peeled back to reveal bone, her skull gleaming in the harsh light. Her right ear was missing. A blood-curdling scream tore from my throat. But the woman, Michelle or not, wasn't looking at us. Her one good eye, wide with terror, her bony finger pointed down the road, through the choked sobs. Her lips opened. Even though I can't hear any voice at all, I knew what it was. And it was tapang. It's translated to help in English. She was asking for help. But the main usual scary kids that was looking at this unghastly figure, we didn't felt any fear. What we felt was pity, sadness. It was very unusual because she was saying tabang or asking for help. But what's really curious is that she was not looking at us. She was pointing at something in the road. When we looked at what she's pointing at, we can't find anything. But when we look again, she's gone. We were out of there in a second, scrambling over each other after we realized what we saw. The image of that horrifying figure forever etched in my mind. We never spoke of that night again. The memory, a silent pact between us friends. That sometimes, late at night, when the wind whispers through the empty streets of Bangkal, I swear, I can hear a faint, desperate cry. Tabang. And a part of me knows it's not Michelle asking for help. It's something far worse, pointing us all in the same direction. It also reminded me of how brutal and scary real-life human beings are than those souls left devastated in the dark. I hope the family find peace. Wow, that was very heavy. I did a couple of research and I felt like the story matches something very unusual since the writer mentioned a specific year. So what I did is I asked my trusty old Google buddy and asked what happened in Bangkal, Cebu in a vacant lot last 2019. It pulled up a news of a young teenager murdered and raped in Bangkal, Cebu. So in the story, it was named Michelle. But if you do a quick search right now, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say her name. But I hope the family wouldn't be, angry at me for saying this. But it was Christine Silawan's murder case. And if you look at the situation, the story and what the news are actually saying, it kind of matches. But it could have been that the story was written based on that. I'm not sure if this is true. And it was so sad because, such a beautiful young lady. I don't know if this is like a different potential case in Bangkal, Cebu, but that's the only thing that I found in my research, and I hope it's not. But if it is, I hope she rests in peace, and my heart goes out to the family. Anyway, it's so heavy. Let's jump into the third story of today. Third story is also claimed to be true. Now, this is the story of the house on the hill in Cebu. If you do a quick search, there's also a lot of, Reddit stories about the house on the hill in Cebu. And this could be one of those Reddit stories, but I can't find any match online. But it was sent to me through email, and it was Martin of Cebu. The story is titled, I Dare You to Go to Cebu's House on the Hill. The house on the hill always loomed over us like a bad dream. This giant, dusty pink mansion on a hill overlooking Cebu City used to be a crown jewel of a rich Cebuano family. But stories swirled around it after it became vacant. Whispers of vengeful spirits, strange noises in the dead of the night, and sightings of ghostly white lady. It became a local legend, a forbidden place that dared anyone to enter. Of course, being teenagers, we scoffed at the rumors. Me and my friends, AJ, Ben, and Marielle, were all about pushing boundaries. One scorching summer night, fueled by cheap beer and a little bit of drunkenness, AJ dared us to spend the night at the house on the hill. We were very nervous, but very excited, a mix of fear and foolishness. We snuck up the overgrown path leading to the mansion. The closer we got, the heavier the air felt. Moonlight cast long, skeletal shadows across the peeling paint and broken windows. Just standing there, goosebumps erupted on my skin. Ignoring the unease, we snuck through a loose board in the back door. Dust motes danced in the moonlight, filtering through the grimy windows. The air inside was thick and stale, smelling of old furniture and damp earth. Every creak of the floorboards, every groan of a settling house makes me feel like I'm about to cry. We explored whispering, jokes, just to mask our growing fear. Then it happened. A sound, faint at first, like a woman sobbing. It came from upstairs. We froze, our hearts hammering in our chest. AJ, our ever tough guy, insisted it was just the wind. But the sound came again, and it was closer this time. A mournful wail that echoed through the dusty halls. We didn't need any more convincing. At that moment, we ran out the back door, and the sound of sobbing is like it's following us down the creaking stairs. Bursting out in the cool night air, we ran, not daring to look back. It was a very, very horrifying experience. I can't imagine what would have happened if we stopped and, turned around. I learned the hard way that sometimes places that are meant to be forbidden shall stay forbidden and untouched. Wow. That was a really great lesson there, everyone. I mean, there are people that are very, they get adrenaline rush whenever they try to visit specific place, like abandoned places, and try to discover some things that other people are afraid to discover. And I honestly was thinking it's really kind of exciting, but it's also kind of foolish because you may never know if there's like homeless people there, murderers, psychos living in there. It's very risky, and I'm the type of a person that loves to go out of her comfort zone, but not when it comes to death and life situations. So I would rather be safe. So kudos to Martin. Was it Martin and his friends? Thank you so much for sending me the story. A great lesson indeed. So we have our last story for today. This one is about a specific college or institution in Cebu. And it was sent by a person named Roxanne. And it was titled Cebu Normal College, Ghost in the Mirror. Everyone knew the rumors. Students who swore they saw strange things reflected back. Whispers of bad luck. Even a story about a prank gone wrong that ended in a broken mirror. and a student acting possessed. Me, I never really believed those stories. Not until the day that I had my English class. It was a very hot afternoon, the kind that makes your face really sweaty and your brain a little bit mushy. We were supposed to do a group presentation, but my partner was MIA, leaving me to scramble through my notes alone. That's when I noticed it. My reflection in the old mirror at the back of the room. It just wasn't right. My reflection looked tired, pale, and way more freaked out than I actually felt. Then I did something stupid. It came right through me that it probably is an apparition. It could have been not me, looking back at me in the mirror. So I muttered a desperate plea. I whispered a little prayer under my breath, one my grandmother taught me for protection. And you won't believe what happened next. The reflection in the mirror, who was me, but looking a little bit gaunt and tired, mimicked me. Of course it would, because it's a mirror, right? But it was moving silently, with a very unusual grin on her face, mimicking the words of my prayer. While that same image of me, gaunt and tired with very dark circles in her eyes, smiling and muttering the prayer that I was saying, I touched my face, thinking I might have been smiling or smirking like this unconsciously, but I was not. I stopped the prayer and I looked at myself in the mirror. A shiver ran down my spine. It was like ice water. It wasn't just copying the movements. I can hear a voice, a raspy echo of mine. It was trying to distract me, and it was successful because I stopped and my eyes was wide open. I was shaking. I was frozen. Staring at the reflection, my heart was hammering against my ribs. The prayer was actually something that I memorized. It's been something like a habit instead of something that needs to be felt from the heart. My reflection has a bloodshot eyes. It was giving me an eerie smile and I don't know how to describe it. As I write this right now, the hair around my body all were standing and I am having goosebumps. It's because I felt like it was yesterday. Remembering every detail. Well, not everything, but I felt like the entire face of that me in front of a mirror. I felt like I could see that face again if I looked in the mirror one more time. The me in the mirror at that time smiles, opened her mouth, and blood was flowing out of my mouth and in my reflection. She was saying, Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners. And that's when I noticed that she is already repeating this prayer thrice now. Then with a loud crash, a book tumbled off a shelf behind me. I jumped, startled, breaking eye contact with the mirror. And when I dared to look back, the reflection was gone. It was replaced by my normal, tired self. The rest of the class was a blur, even the year at that. All I could think about was that mocking reflection, the feeling of being watched. Later, I found out that new mirrors were placed, and it was a little bit reassuring. But still, ever since that day, I had always have problems facing mirrors, especially at night. I knew better. The rumors were true, and whatever lurked in that old mirror, it thrived on fear. It's as if it's feeding on every fear every rumor's running around about it. And that day, in that classroom, I know that it feasted on mine. I may never look in a mirror the same way again. Especially not the old ones. Who knows what they might reflect back at you. Ooh. The fourth story was really quite something. I agree. I often have problems looking at mirrors at night as well. Especially when I'm very stressed. I don't want to look at my face because I'm. But jokes aside, I mean, mirrors always have something magical with them, right? I felt like mirrors are a door to a parallel universe. I don't know, ghost world, whatever. It's totally magical. I mean, knowing the fact that it actually reflects you, but it could have been a different you in a different world. We may never know. But again, that was a very amusing story. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Again, if you have any horror stories, I would like to read them all. Again, I also convert or rewrite stories. You can write it in your own language. I am multilingual. And we also have Mr. Google to help us with that. So I can just copy and paste and translate them to English. So go ahead and write it in Ilocano, in Muslim language, or Bisaya, or Tagalog, or if you are comfortable to write it in English, go on ahead. I would really be grateful for you guys for giving me additional stories to read, and I have a couple of them. I'm just so glad that people are giving me a chance to, tell their story, and it's a great day. I hope it is a great day. I hope it's a great day for you guys as well. I'll see you in the next video. Toodaloo.